Howdy all of you delicious people, I'm here today to view The Last of Us Season 1, Episode 9. This episode is to be titled Look for the Light. And immediately, ironically, in my brain, I'm going into just kind of a funny way of thinking about this episode. Just like, yeah, I'm looking for the light. Was it a light budget this season? Do we have a lot of light on Infected? Yeah, yeah. So... like, I would make jokes about it, but I would still probably thumbs up this season finale, even though I would state that this whole entire episode was very flat. To me, it was a very weak season finale, even though we did have actresses like Ashley Johnson, who, of course, a lot of people would probably know if you were to ever played The Last of Us games. Ashley is to have gone on to do the voice of Ellie in the Last of Us video game, and of course, it was really cool to see her on the season finale in the early part of this episode. I would really have to dance around the fact that there is a light amount of stuff going on in this episode specifically, so there's not going to be a huge lot that I can bring into the teeing up portion of this episode, because for obvious reasons. So, in all actuality, what I can state here for the tee up part is we are to have Joel and Ellie that are to make it to this hospital to talk to some Firefly folks, because of course we don't remember. They had to go on and leave the university to now go to this other location, which is this hospital. So, we have both Joel and Ellie that are making to this location, and after finding some unusual animal friends, they make their way to this location on a surprise. We would come to find that Joel has to make a big decision here. And I think a lot of people already are making a lot of polls stating whether or not Joel was wrong or that maybe Marlene was right. And so which is almost kind of one and the same thing, but either way. Moving on. So the funny thing that I had come to before I was to even watch the last episode of The Last of Us was to come to find out that the people of HBO Max and Warner Brothers and whoever had gone on to make a statement that, hey guys, like letting you guys know that there's going to be a lot more infected in the season 2 of Last of Us. So I'm like, oh, okay, so that tells me like where this last episode is heading. And I'm going to be real excited about that. Just wait and just hope that I can just watch this last episode and just be thrilled about it, right? Not so much. But so, I would still to go on and overall state that this was a good episode. Thumbs up, but it's a weak one. I would even want to go as far as saying that this season finale was okay. Like a solid okay. In all honesty. But the action sequences and the whole thing were like Joel is driven and but still the way they just put this whole episode together, the way they end it, it just comes off as just like flat as F. So with that said, let's just go on into spoilers. Let's call this a season for whatever reason. Hopefully they can they gotta put something really exciting in this second season. They really gotta give me like an episode where like every episode just feels like a war. They gotta do something. Make something up in the second season if even the following season is not that exciting. Make it even more exciting. Put 100 infected in one scene. Even if it does make sense, just put 100 infected there. So that way you can at least give me something to just be thrilled about, that they spent money on the show. So with that said, let's go on to that double 5 time territory, because it's about that time to just go into spoiler time. Spoiler time, it's about that time again to spoil this episode. So, in the very beginning, we have Ashley Johnson, who is playing Anna Williams. She is running away from something. What exactly? We don't know what. Until we have to just assume. Anna, it seems, is to have had her water break as she is making it into this house, going to this room, putting this chair in front of this door. Anna is to go on and kind of sit in this room that is completely empty because the show has no budget. And by the time that it seems that Anna is to be forced to deliver her child right here in this house, we come to find that a zombie is to also make its way to Anna. The infected person is to make it to Anna. So Anna is fighting off this zombie, going on and killing it, and all while she goes on and does that, she is simultaneously giving birth to her child at the same time. Wow, what a like duo thing to do. She's fighting for her life and she's giving birth. Yeah. Letting everybody know, for anybody that goes on and does reactions to the show, definitely show nothing of Anna giving birth, or otherwise like you're gonna get flagged for something. Like yeah. Yeah, that's not gonna work out for you so well. So Anna goes on and is to find out that she is infected upon her leg. Anna goes on and cuts the umbilical cord, and then she goes on and she's kind of just holding on to her child. We then go on to have Anna, who is by later on to find Marlene, and we have Anna who is to tell Marlene, it's like, well, hey, I'm infected. You have to take this child and like raise her as your own. And like I had cut the umbilical cord before this and that and whatever what have you. So Anna tells Marlene that Anna could not, of course, nurse her, and because she's infected. So the baby is hungry. So Anna is to go on and tell Marlene that you're going to have to take this child, and then you're going to have to kill Anna. So Anna goes on and is to give the baby her knife, so it helps us figure out where she had gotten this knife from. I also like how they were to have kind of wrapped up what had happened in a prior episode where it just kind of stopped. But they gave us kind of like this story by, luckily, the end of this episode, so we're not kind of cliffhanger to like, well, whatever happened from that other episode where they just didn't clear that up. But so, we'll get to that, hopefully. Anna goes on and hands the baby off to Marlene. Marlene hands the baby off to another guy, and we then have Marlene, who does not want to go on and kill Anna because they have been friends their whole entire life. So Anna's like, no, you have to do it. And so Marlene comes back with this gun, shoots Anna, and then they leave. All while the baby is crying, Marlene is trying to soothe the baby, and so we then go on to fast track to now see Ellie. Ellie is beyond this truck, and we have Joel, who of course is to be shouting for Ellie. Ellie, it seems, is to really, from the last episode, just kind of be really off. Like she's a very less chatty self, and from also the just traumatic events of the last episode, she's still just like really just processing all of that, or really just trying to forget all of it in her brain. So Ellie's kind of in her head. We have Joel that comes up to her. It's like, well, hey, I found some ravioli. Isn't this great? And he finds some Boggle, and he's like, well, yeah, we can play Boggle, and if there's one game that you can beat me in, it's this, because it's a word game. So they come to find out that they're gonna like ditch the truck and make their way on foot. So as we go on to have our characters start to walk on, uh, they are kind of planning where exactly they're gonna go and do the usual thing, which is to find like the highest point, and which of course is a skyscraper or something like that, a very high place to go and find where they're gonna go next. So Ellie goes on and states that's exactly what they're gonna go and do, and Joel's like, well, no, like I saw like some dynamite in this RV, and so I'm gonna take these explosives and just blow this kind of hole that's in this area here. And Ellie's like, are you serious? And Joel's like, no, like we're gonna do the exact same thing we always do, because that's always game mechanics. You have like the rule of three, or you go on and just have like the game that is kind of mapped out the same way over and over and over again. You just go to realize that there is always that pattern, and there is to always be like one location you go into that can help you kind of map out everything else. And that is to kind of be very well known whenever I'm to go on and like play like Assassin's Creed. It kind of has that same thing where you would go to like another whole world of things. You would have to go to this high spot, and this high spot would like kind of unlock all the stuff that's around the area. So we would have Ellie and we have Joel, and so we would come to find that they realize that there's like no staircase to get up higher. Plus, the building that they're going into is under construction. So Joel is a spot that there is this open spot for this ladder to go down. So Joel's like, well, hey, Ellie, if I boost you up, like, you can definitely go up there and get this ladder down for me. And we would, of course, have, like, Ellie that's, oh, okay, sure. After she gets distracted yet again, Joel goes over and is like, well, hey, did you listen to what I said? And she's like, yeah, like, boost and whatever. So Joel boosts up Ellie. She gets up there, and so we now have Ellie that is to drop the ladder down, and she runs off because she sees something. Joel ends up having to adjust the ladder, ends up going up there, and he's like, where are you going? Like, what the heck? What's going on? So Joel, of course, is not fast enough to really chase after Ellie, but he tries to anyways. We come to find that the further and further Ellie is to go on here, and show Joel what it is that she was looking at, we would come to find that both of them are to find these giraffes. And so we have Joel who's to grab a bit of the plant, the brush, the whatever, and hand it to Ellie so that way she can feed this to this giraffe. I'm like, okay, that's really nice. That's really cool. So at one point the giraffe goes on and just moves away, and so like, oh, okay, well, I guess the fun of that was over. So they decide to just kind of continue on their path, and so we have at one point where they start to notice that there is to be some kind of nursing stations and a lot of stuff that had kind of been put in place in the early years of this infection, where of course there was the army that came in instead of the Fedra or whichever, the Fireflies. We had the army that came in and they were kind of setting up shop. So we would come to find that at one point, like, Joel realizes that this is a very familiar place, that he had come here because he needed to get cleaned up. And so Ellie is tying what Joel was saying, that he was to almost got shot, but it missed, but he had to get kind of like sewed up together. And so Ellie was thinking that's like, oh, that must have been right after you lost your daughter. And Joel is like, no, it was a little bit after that. And so Joel ends up kind of sitting aside and then telling Ellie that after he was to go on and lose his daughter, he was to want to go on and pull the trigger and end it all. And so instead of going on and going through with it, he uh, kind of pulled away at the last second, and he hurt himself in the process. So we have Joel and we have Ellie, and so it's like, well, it's a good thing that you didn't go through with that. It's like, well, hey, like, maybe all of this, like, adventure and all that, like, maybe after time, like, heals all wounds. And Joel is like, well, no, time didn't heal all wounds. And then he starts to look at Ellie, and we start to realize that their partnership had really helped Joel try to get over the loss of his daughter. And, like, that was a really sweet and just tender moment that we just had there, where they kind of both looked at one another. It's like, oh, that's nice. Yeah, like, Joel still lost Tess though, but either way, he still got something out of it. So we then have them, like, start to walk off, and Joel's like, well, yeah, like, I'm sorry I mentioned all that. That's kind of a heavy moment. And Ellie's like, no, that was nice. So Joel goes on and he's like, well, you know what I really need right now? I really need some yokes. I really need some of them jokes. Give me some of those stupid, silly dad jokes from that book. So they go on and they pop out the book, and we end up having Ellie, who is to say this joke about the apocalypse and the world ending, and Ellie's like, what is it, too soon to laugh about the apocalypse? And Joel's like, no, it's topical, keep going. So she starts saying all these jokes, and we start to see that there are people creeping up behind both Joel and Ellie, because they're actually people. We would come to find out that these folks are to be Yellow Jackets, as they are to go on and put this kind of, I want to say it's like a frag grenade or like a smoke bomb or something, and it goes on to have both Joel and both Ellie kind of quickly taken out. We have the guys who grab Ellie immediately and then are to then take Joel afterwards. We then have Joel, who is to awaken at this hospital, and we come to find out that he is right next to Arlene. Or Marlene. My bad. So we have Marlene that apologizes to Joel, stating that it's like, well, hey, like, those guys had no clue who you were. Like, we had to go on and tell them who you were, and so on and so yeah. So we would go on to have Joel, who is talking to Marlene, and it seems that they are to be quick to have taken Ellie into surgery. And so Joel is like, okay, well, what does that mean exactly? So Joel, of course, is very confused. He wasn't asked about this or anything. So Marlene ends up stating that there is a way for them to be able to take something out of Ellie, to then have them be able to multiply it and then come up with a cure for everyone. They have to take out the cordyceps. And so we come to find out that more than likely, if this is going to be a thing that is to happen to Ellie, that this will probably go on and kill her. But it's one of those scenarios where we have like the movie Wanted, where they state, like, kill one to save 1,000. To me, you also can go back to the original Star Trek quote, where it's like, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, or the needs of the few outweigh the needs of the many, or the one, or the whatever. Like, there's a whole thing of that where they bizarrely continue to adjust that consistently for how it is to just kind of benefit them and whatever story that they need for the original Star Trek. But so we... I gotta sneeze here. Excuse me. So we would have Joel that does not want Ellie to be operated on. And so Marlene is like, well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to have you have these guys escort you out of here. We're going to give you your backpack and you're going to leave. So to just be like nice, it's like it's a good thing. Like we owe you that you brought her here and for how difficult it was, yada yada yada. But like, yeah, you're gonna leave. We'll let you go. So the guys have Joel's backpack. So Joel then makes his way forcibly with these guys. So at one point we get down to these stairs as Joel is like continuing to stop, and the guys are kind of getting more and more ticked off. Like, oh hey, like why are you stopping? So we have Joel when we get right down to the stairs. We have him then fight back, and he goes on to shoot one of the guys dead, and then he ends up asking the other one, hey, where is the girl? The guy doesn't answer, so he kills him, and then Joel just goes on and takes his backpack and takes all of his stuff. So Joel starts to make his way through with one of the men's gun and starts to fire upon these people. It seems that quite a bit of them have machine guns, but Joel can still, with his gun, just kind of easily take them out, because I guess he's just a really good shot here. So Joel just starts going through gunning these guys down. Whenever he is to run out of bullets for one, he finds another gun, another machine gun. He's like, all right, like, so just murdering and killing guys on stairwells and all kinds of things. So we get to where Joel is like, okay, I'm trying to figure out where this girl is. We even have at one point where a guy is to drop his gun and is to put his hands up and be like, hey man, don't kill me, and Joel kills him anyways. We have Joel who is to leave no stone unturned in this whole entire facility. He murders most of everybody with the exclusion of these two nurses, it seems, when he actually gets to where we would have Ellie being operated on, because he goes on to find that she's in like the pediatric wing. So Joel goes in there. Joel goes into the hospital surgery location. And so by the time that Joel goes on and is to tell like these doctors is like, hey, unhook her from everything, like put a bandage over that IV that you just took from her. You just ripped it out from her. So we have the doctor that is a surgeon that it's like, well, hey, like, I'm not gonna let you take her. And Joel just shoots him in the head. It's like, okay, anybody else have that same decision? The nurses walk off. Joel takes Ellie, gets the heck out of there, tries to find a vehicle, and so we all of a sudden have him run into Marlene. And so we have Marlene that is telling Joel, it's like, wait a minute, like, stop all this. We can find another way, Joel. Like, we can figure it out. And I really just think that Marlene is lying to Joel. I don't think there is another way. I think it's only that way and that way alone. So that's what I'm thinking. I don't think there is no other strategy, or if you really get Joel to really fall asleep at some point, like Marlene is going to grab Ellie and run off to whoever she's going to know where the nearest scalpel is. And so no, like, I'm not going to want to lose sleep at night thinking of what Marlene might come and do. So Joel goes on and is to whip out his handgun and pow pow, Marlene. She's dead. Cause, well, he shoots her, she falls to the ground, so Marlene's like, wait, don't kill me. And Joel's like, no, like, you're just gonna come for her anyways, and he kills her. So Joel puts Ellie in the back of this car and he drives off. And there's also like Marlene was to tell Joel, it's like, what if Ellie goes on to like be like torn apart by infected? Or what happens if uh like a bunch of raiders like put a bullet in her head? Like what good is that then? And Joel's like, I don't care. No, it's my decision. So yeah, so uh we also had uh Marlene, who was like, well, think of all the people that we could save. Like, think of all the people who can basically be like Ellie, who, like, they don't see her as an infected and this and that. And, like, I don't care. No, save that girl. So, Joel goes on and is to drive off. And by the time that Ellie awakens from this car after all the drugs she is to have had, she's like, well, hey, I was at the with the yellow jackets and now I'm here. I was all drugged up. Like, what happened? So Joel goes on to explain that by the time that that Ellie was drugged up and sleeping, Joel had went on to talk to Marlene, and it seems that there was a plethora of different people that were immune, like Ellie was, and they could not have gone on and figured out a way to cure anybody. And Ellie, of course, was to be the next for them to go on and try something, but coincidentally, there was all of a sudden raiders who attacked all the yellow jackets and killed them all, and Joel luckily got out of there just in the nick of time. And so that is the story that Joel goes on to feeds Ellie, and so they eventually, out of this vehicle, are to lose gas. We then go on to have Joel telling Ellie, it's like, well, hey, like we have a 5 mile hike, like you or 5 hour hike, like you remember that? Like remember when we were here once before? So they're obviously making their way back to Tommy's, and so I would be kind of interested just kind of see how like the beginning of season 2 starts out. Uh, but again, the season. So we had Ellie that was to during the road trip get an exchange of clothes, so she wasn't wearing that nursing gown by the time they're walking. So Ellie finally turns to Joel and is to go on and tell him that like the first time that she ever gone on and killed somebody was to have actually killed her friend. The one where they were having that Halloween party and they were wearing those masks. And at the end of it, we would go on to find that both of them started to get infected. Well, the one friend wanted to just kind of write it out and see what would happen. And we would come to find out that her friend got infected, but she didn't. So Ellie had to forcibly go on and kill her own friend. So that was the first time that she ever killed somebody, and she told Joel that. And so I'm like, oh, okay, so they kind of left that to be kind of the closure that we needed from the other episode if you guys had not played the video game. So Ellie then goes on to ask Joel, it's like, well, like, the story that you told me, was that what really happened? And Joel goes on and tells Ellie, yes, and then the episode ends. And so it's like, yeah, just to me it wasn't exciting enough, but it was a season nonetheless. So with that said, I think I'm gonna go on and just get out of here. Let me know in the comments below how you felt about this last episode. Whether you would have said, no, I thought this episode was great. What are you talking about? Like, because there's a lot of people that can go on and be like, no, I hated this season finale. I thought it was boring. There could be a lot of mixed feelings for this season overall. there were some good episodes here. You can't not say, like, the one with uh like Norman Offerman and the whole Arby's thing, like that whole episode, like that was actually funny and was actually some good story there, even though again lack of infected really. Uh, but other than that, yeah, I'm gonna get out of here. Bye, everybody. Bye, everybody.